Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now getting closer to the end of April of 2023, and given that there's a lot of things happening between John, George, Dave, the Disney executives, and everything on Kathleen Kennedy's end as well, with Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte, we have a lot of great projects on the horizon, as well as a lot of controversial projects that are being led by Kathleen Kennedy, that of course being Acolyte and Skeleton, and everything ranging from those. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, we know that there is a full slate of Star Wars movies, including the 2025 movie, the Dave Filoni Star Wars film, Dawn of the Jedi, as well as a handful of Old Republic movies on the horizon that will be announced at this year's D23 event. But that brings us to actress Daisy Ridley, who has been pretty unveiling as of late about her plans and exactly what Lucasfilm is planning for the Skywalker legacy, for the future of Rey, for everything related to the Star Wars universe coming back to cinemas and to the movie theaters again, and stuff around those lines. Now, we know that the sequel trilogy movies were really a letdown for a lot of fans out there, and for several valid reasons, right? We know that in the beginning, Bob Iger just denied the fact that, the fans had a valid point. Nowadays, they do agree with a lot of fans out there, and they're trying to really course correct the franchise and really kind of just enhance the experience to really regain those lost fans that just walked away after the sequel trilogy came to a close. But moving on to the next big thing here about what Daisy Ridley had to say about the future of Star Wars and where it's going, is that with Disney and Lucasfilm getting prepared to actually make big announcements for, of course, not just D23, but for other events as well, surrounding the upcoming films and shows. However, it's described that in a recent interview with actress Daisy Ridley, she was able to shed more light on the upcoming 2025 Star Wars movie. Daisy stated the following to the fans: "So, with the upcoming Stephen Knight film that we are working on, we have already been focusing on where is Rey at this point, 15 years on, and we have been endlessly discussing how Luke will come into the picture during these events. I actually had a couple of meetings with Stephen, and the ways he is going to bring back Luke in this movie, I think really is something quite different than how he was done and used in the sequels. We are actively brainstorming on how we can do this correctly, as he is still writing the script, and he is still aware about the fans being let down from the lack of Luke that they wanted in the past film, so he's looking into that right now on how that can be properly utilized, either through Force Ghosts or flashbacks, whatever have you, and stuff like that is something that Lucasfilm is actively looking over right now." So let me just stop right here for 1 second. Now, we've been talking about this movie for a number of weeks now. We know that a lot of fans around the globe are either all for this movie or are totally against it. I've seen a lot of backlash, a lot of fans just not supporting Rey's comeback or Rey returning to this Star Wars film. And keep in mind that Rey is actually not planned to be the main lead of this upcoming Star Wars film. It's going to be an ensemble cast, so Rey is going to be mixed in with a lot of the main characters. So that's the other thing that I think a lot of fans need to be aware of, is that this isn't necessarily a Rey-centered film strictly, but it is going to be centered on the Jedi Order and the next generation of Jedi, so to speak. So we know that Stephen Knight, he hasn't really put out a ton of blockbusters out there, and he's really not all that well known among the common moviegoers. But one thing about Stephen Knight is that apparently, according to Daisy Ridley, he does understand the fandom's, lack of interest in the sequels because of what they did to Luke Skywalker and stuff like that. And so toward the end of the scripting phase right now, he's trying to figure out exactly how he's going to utilize Luke's presence in these, in this upcoming story, so to speak. And as Daisy pointed out, it's either going to be through Force Ghosts and flashbacks, stuff like that, and how that too is going to be executed. The biggest question of all is, will that even be enough for fans to enjoy Luke's return into the Star Wars universe on the big screen again, in the present time, and in the past tense as well, through flashbacks? Is it really going to be enough? This sounds like basically what Stephen Knight is doing is he's doing J.J. Abrams' original ideas of what he wanted to do with Episode 9 that Kathleen Kennedy just threw in the trash, and they wanted to have a lot of Luke flashbacks in Episode 9, and many of which, almost all of which, got deleted. They only came to one exception of keeping one, a very short scene where you get Leia and Luke training against each other for a very brief moment, and that was it. There was supposed to be a lot more flashbacks where it was almost going to be treated like The Godfather Part 2, where it bounces back and forth between the present and the past. It was going to be something like that with Episode 9. That was JJ's original outlook on things, focusing on the Skywalker legacy and focusing on the present. So this could very well be where Stephen Knight is heading and what he's trying to do. Moving on. She states, "You always want to do better, and I know it's been hard on fans about how Luke was used in the sequels, but I just feel fans need to toughen up a bit since they are just movies, you know? And to at least wait and see what things are coming for Stephen Knight's movie that is going to continue to respect the Skywalker legacy. We have been talking things over with Mark about all of this, and even he's been on board with how things are going to be done in this way by Stephen, on how Luke's presence will in fact be a big deal for this new Jedi Order era. We knew, of course, that we had to respect Luke because he is the one who truly guided Rey with her place in the galaxy. I think fans just need to wait and see what we have in store for the fandom with this wild movie that we are all making." Now again, we know that Daisy Ridley is still having a lot of problems with the fans' response to Rey's comeback and her return into the Star Wars franchise. She's really quite surprised that there's so many fans out there that are just not supporting her film. And so, look, I would not be all that surprised if Lucasfilm eventually cans this whole movie, but I don't believe that they will, because they already have casting getting lined up for this August. They have a lot of filming locations all prepared for early 2024 across the entire globe. There's a lot of things happening right now with this movie. So it looks like that this very well may be the first movie that's actually going to begin filming in 2024, and onwards we have the Dave Filoni movies, because his singular film is going to be the gateway to becoming a trilogy eventually. And then you got Dawn of the Jedi by James Mangold, which is going to focus on the first Jedi and the beginning of the first Jedi Order, or the Jedi Order I should say, and where the Jedi really all began, stuff like that. So that should be very interesting. But Rey as a character, I get it. I get why fans have such mixed feelings about this. But we gotta remember that there's also a post-Episode 9 series in development by John and Dave that is going to completely reinvent the character of Rey. And it's going to take place after the events of the Rey-centered film. We've talked about this. It's going to take place roughly 25 years later, where Rey is going to basically be a brand new character. Alright, so that's how John and Dave are treating this. They want to create their own version of Rey, so to speak. So anyways, I would really love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.